1 month of silence can destroy a marriage faster than any war ever could. Jae-won knew this as he pulled into the circular driveway of their estate, his jaw tight, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. 21 days since their explosive argument about his world. The violence, the danger, the blood that sometimes stained his hands no matter how hard he scrubbed. 21 days since she'd looked at him with those eyes that used to hold only love and said she didn't know if she could do this anymore. 21 days of sleeping in separate rooms like strangers who happened to share an address. He'd told himself the distance was temporary, a cooling-off period, space to let her anger fade and his pride recover from the blow of her doubts. But every morning he woke up in that guest room, the silence between them calcified a little more, hardening into something that might be permanent. Tonight, though, he'd decided to come home early, make an effort, maybe actually talk to his wife instead of communicating through terse text messages and avoidance. But the moment he stepped through the front door, every thought in his head evaporated. Amara stood in the foyer, and she was devastating. The burgundy dress hugged every curve like it had been designed specifically to destroy his sanity. Long sleeves, high neck, but with a back that plunged so low it was practically criminal. Her hair was swept up, exposing the elegant line of her neck, the shoulders he used to kiss every morning before work. Diamond earrings he'd given her for their anniversary caught the light as she checked her phone, completely unaware of his presence. And beside her, packed and ready, sat a designer suitcase. His blood went cold, then immediately scorching hot. Going somewhere. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. Amara's head snapped up, surprise flickering across her face before it smoothed into that carefully neutral expression she'd perfected over the past 1 month. Seoul. Business conference. I told you about it 2 months ago. He had zero recollection of any conference. But then again, 2 months ago they'd still been talking to each other like humans instead of hostile acquaintances. For how long? He crossed the foyer slowly, deliberately, his eyes tracking every detail. The dress that showed too much and not enough, the confident tilt of her chin, the phone she'd been so absorbed in. A week. She slipped her phone into her clutch. I leave in an hour. A week. 7 days. And she was dressed like that. What's the conference? His voice was deceptively calm. Tech Innovation Summit. She adjusted one earring, still not quite meeting his eyes. My company is presenting our new platform. Who else is speaking? Now her gaze did meet his, sharp and knowing. Does it matter? Answer the question, Amora. Several industry leaders. Her tone was ice, including Daniel Kim. His keynote. Daniel Kim. Her ex-boyfriend from university. The one who'd gone on to build $1 billion startup. The one who, according to mutual friends, had never quite gotten over Amora choosing Jae-won instead. Something primal and possessive roared to life in Jae-won's chest. You're not going. The words came out flat, absolute. Amora's eyebrows rose. Excuse me. You heard me. He closed the remaining distance between them in 3 strides. You're not going to Seoul. You're not spending a week at some conference. And you're definitely not going anywhere near Daniel Kim dressed like that. I don't remember asking your permission. Her voice was dangerously quiet. This is my job, Jae-won. My career. You don't get to. The hell I don't. His hands found her waist, pulling her against him with enough force that she gasped. You're my wife. That means something, even if you've forgotten it. Your wife. She laughed, the sound bitter. I've barely seen you in a month. You've been sleeping in the guest room like I have some contagious disease. You won't talk to me, won't look at me, won't even eat breakfast in the same room. But now, suddenly, I'm your wife when it's convenient for you. That's not. You don't get to ignore me for 21 days and then decide you care when I'm walking out the door. She tried to pull away, but he held firm. Maybe a week away will remind you what you've been taking for granted. The challenge in her eyes, the direct hit to his ego, ignited something that had been simmering under his skin for weeks. All the frustration, the hurt pride, the nights lying awake knowing she was just down the hall but might as well have been on another planet. You think I've been taking you for granted? His voice dropped to something rough and dangerous. You think I don't know exactly what I have? That I don't lie awake every night knowing my wife is sleeping alone because I'm too much of a coward to face her? Amora's breath hitched. Then why? Because I heard you. The confession tore out of him. A month ago, on the phone with Sarah, you said you were suffocating in this marriage, that you needed to figure things out, that you didn't know how much longer. He stopped, his jaw clenching so hard it hurt. Understanding dawned in her eyes, followed immediately by something that looked like horror. You were listening to my private conversation. I wasn't trying to. His hands tightened on her waist. I came home early to surprise you. You were in the living room on speaker. I heard you tell your best friend that being married to me was suffocating you. And his voice cracked. I've spent 1 month trying to give you the space you clearly needed, trying to prepare myself for the day you'd finally say you wanted out. What time does your flight leave? He asked, his voice coming out rougher than intended. 8:30. She glanced at her watch, the vintage Cartier he'd given her on their wedding day. At least she still wore that. Car service will be here in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. She'd be gone in 20 minutes, on her way to spend a week with her ex-boyfriend, wearing a dress that should be illegal, while he stayed here in this mausoleum of a house they'd turned their marriage into. Not happening. Cancel it. He stepped fully into the foyer, letting the door close behind him with a decisive click. Her eyebrows rose slightly. Excuse me. The car. Cancel it. You're not going. For a moment, she just stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. Then something flashed in her eyes, not anger exactly, but something sharper. I have a presentation to deliver. My team is counting on me. Your team can present without you. That's not how this works, J1. She picked up her clutch, her movements deliberate. This conference has been on the calendar for months. You knew about it. I didn't know you'd be spending a week with Daniel Kim. There it was, out in the open. The jealousy he'd been trying to bury since he'd heard that name on the phone. Amora's laugh was sharp enough to cut. Unbelievable. You've barely spoken to me in a month. You sleep in a different room. You leave before I wake up and come home after I'm asleep. But now you suddenly care about my schedule. I care about my wife going to Seoul dressed like. He gestured at the dress, words failing him. Like what? She took a step toward him, challenge written across every line of her body. Say it. Like I'm trying to get someone's attention. Like I want to be noticed. Yes, exactly like that. But he couldn't say it without sounding like a possessive bastard, which he absolutely was but preferred not to advertise. You know what that dress does, he said instead. Do I? Another step closer. Because for the past 1 month, I could have walked around this house naked and you wouldn't have noticed. I could have set myself on fire and you would have stepped over me to get to your precious guest room. Each word landed like a slap. Accurate ones. So forgive me, she continued, her voice shaking now with barely controlled emotion. If I'm a little confused about why you suddenly care what I wear or where I go or who I see. I've always cared. Bullshit. The word cracked through the air between them. Amora never cursed. The fact that she just did told him exactly how close to her breaking point she was. You checked out a month. You decided I wasn't worth fighting for, wasn't worth talking to, wasn't worth. You said you were suffocating. The words exploded out of him before he could stop them. You told Sarah you couldn't breathe in this marriage, that you needed to figure things out. What the hell was I supposed to do with that? She went completely still. You were eavesdropping on my phone calls. I wasn't eavesdropping. I came home early and you were in the living room on speaker. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration bleeding into every movement. You want to know why I've been distant? Because I've been trying to give you what you asked for. Space. Room to breathe. A chance to figure out if you even want to be in this marriage anymore. That's not. She stopped, closing her eyes. When she opened them again, they were glassy with unshed tears. You didn't hear the whole conversation, did you? I heard enough. Clearly you didn't. She set her clutch down on the side table with careful precision, like she needed to focus on something concrete before she fell apart. I told Sarah I felt suffocated by your secrets. By the walls you put up every time I tried to get close to your world. By the fact that you shut me out of everything that matters to you. Jaewon's chest constricted. I wasn't talking about leaving you, Amora continued, her voice breaking. I was talking about feeling like I'm married to a stranger who won't let me in. Who keeps me in this beautiful house like a possession he's protecting but doesn't actually trust. I'm trying to protect you. From what? Your life. Your world. Tears spilled over now, tracking down her cheeks. I knew who you were when I married you. I chose this. I chose you. But you won't let me actually be part of it. You keep me at arm's length and then act surprised when I tell my best friend I'm drowning in loneliness. The words hit him like bullets, each one finding its mark. 1 month, she said quietly. 1 month you've been punishing me for something you misunderstood. 1 month of silence and distance and sleeping in separate rooms. Do you have any idea what that's been like? Wondering what I did wrong. Why my husband suddenly can't stand to be near me. I never couldn't stand. He moved toward her but she held up a hand. Don't. Not now. She wiped at her tears, smudging her carefully applied makeup. My car will be here in 15 minutes. I'm going to that conference. And maybe while I'm gone, you can figure out if you actually want a wife or just someone to keep your bed warm when it's convenient. Amora. I love you, Jaewon. Her voice was barely a whisper. I've loved you since the day we met. But I can't keep loving someone who won't let me in. Who won't trust me. Who disappears the moment things get difficult. She reached for her suitcase. That's when his control shattered completely. Jaewon crossed the distance between them in 2 strides, his hand closing around her wrist. Not hard, but firm enough to stop her from walking away. You're not getting in that car. Let go of me. Her voice was steady despite the tears still wet on her cheeks. Not until you listen. He pulled her closer, close enough that he could smell her perfume, the one she only wore for special occasions, for important events, for people she wanted to impress. You think I don't want you? That I've been avoiding you because I can't stand to be near you? What else am I supposed to think? She tried to tug her wrist free, but he held on. You won't talk to me. You won't touch me. You act like being in the same room is torture. It is torture. The admission ripped out of him. Every morning I wake up in that guest room knowing you're down the hall. Knowing I could walk 30 feet and be beside you. But I can't, because you said you were suffocating and I thought. His throat closed up. You thought what? Amora's free hand came up to his chest, not pushing him away but resting there, right over his heart. Tell me. For once in a month, actually tell me what you're thinking. I thought you wanted out. The words tasted like ash. I thought you'd finally realize that being married to someone like me, someone who deals in violence and blood and things you shouldn't have to know about, was too much. That you'd figured out you made a mistake. So you just gave up, decided for both of us that we were over. I was trying to make it easier. He released her wrist but caught her face in his hands instead, thumbs brushing away fresh tears. If you were going to leave anyway, I didn't want to make you feel guilty about it. Didn't want to be the pathetic husband begging you to stay when you clearly didn't want to be here. You're an idiot. She said it without heat, just exhausted honesty. A complete idiot. I know. I never said I wanted to leave. I said I wanted in. Her hands covered his where they cupped her face. I wanted you to stop treating me like I'm made of glass. Stop hiding the difficult parts of your life like I can't handle them. Stop pushing me away every time things get dangerous. Things are always dangerous in my world. Then let me be dangerous with you. Her eyes searched his. I'm not some delicate thing that needs to be protected from reality. I'm your wife, your partner, but you won't let me be either of those things. Because if something happened to you, his voice cracked. If anyone used you to get to me, if you got hurt because of my choices, my enemies, My. That's my risk to take. She pulled his hands down but didn't let go. You don't get to make that decision for me. You don't get to shut me out to keep me safe and then act shocked when I tell my best friend I'm lonely. Jaewon closed his eyes. She was right. About all of it. He'd been so focused on protecting her from his world that he'd forgotten to actually include her in his life. I heard you laugh, he said quietly. When you were on the phone just now. I couldn't remember the last time I'd heard that sound. That's because you haven't given me anything to laugh about in weeks. Fair point. Was it him? Daniel? The jealousy was back, coiling in his gut. Were you laughing with him? Does it matter? But there was something in her voice now, not quite teasing, but testing him. Yes. He opened his eyes, meeting her gaze directly. It matters. Everything about you matters. Including the fact that you're about to spend a week in Seoul with your ex-boyfriend, staying in the same hotel, attending the same events, while I'm here going out of my mind. So come with me. The suggestion hung in the air between them. What? Come to Seoul. She squeezed his hands. Take a week away from your empire. Be my date to the conference. Remind me why I chose you over Daniel in the first place. You can't be serious. Why not? You have people who can handle things here. You've said it yourself. You've built an organization that doesn't collapse the moment you step away. She tilted her head, studying him. Unless this isn't really about the conference at all. Unless you'd rather stay here and sulk than actually fight for us. The challenge in her words sparked something in his chest. You think I won't fight for you? I think you've been running away for a month. Her voice was soft but cut deep. I think you heard one out-of-context sentence and decided our marriage was over instead of asking me what I actually meant. I think you're scared. Of course I'm scared. He pulled her flush against him, one hand sliding into her hair. I'm terrified. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I've been watching you slip away for months. Not because of one conversation, Amora. Because I could feel you pulling back. Could see you getting tired of my secrets and my absences and my refusal to let you truly know me. Then stop refusing. Her hands fisted in his shirt. Let me in. Actually let me in. Not just the sanitized version you think I can handle. What if you don't like what you see? What if I do? She rose on her toes, bringing their faces closer. What if knowing the real you, all of you, including the parts you think are too dark, is exactly what I've been begging for? Outside, a car horn sounded. Her ride to the airport. Neither of them moved. The horn sounded again, more insistent this time, but it might as well have been in another universe. Tell them to leave, Jaewon said, his voice rough. What? Tell your driver to leave. You're not going to Seoul. Not like this. Not with everything broken between us. Amora's breath hitched. My presentation can be delivered remotely, or rescheduled, or presented by your team. His hand tightened in her hair, tilting her head back so she had no choice but to meet his eyes. I don't care. What I care about is the fact that my wife was about to walk out that door thinking I don't want her. Thinking I've been avoiding her because I can't stand her presence. Then what was it? Her voice trembled. If not that, then what? Cowardice. The admission cost him, but he forced it out anyway. Pure cowardice. I was too afraid to face you. Too afraid to see confirmation in your eyes that you regretted choosing me. That you'd figured out Daniel or someone like him would have been the safer choice. Daniel never would have been you. Exactly. His successful, legitimate, safe. Boring. Amara interrupted. Predictable. Everything mapped out in 5-year plans and risk assessments. I didn't want that life, Jaewon. I wanted the man who showed up at my apartment at midnight with street food because I'd mentioned craving it once. The man who learned to make my grandmother's soup even though it took him 17 tries to get it right. The man who looks at me like I'm the only thing in the world that matters. I haven't looked at you like that in weeks. I know. Pain flickered across her face. And it's been killing me. Every day wondering if this was it. If you'd finally decided I wasn't worth the trouble. The horn blared a third time. Longer now, impatient. Go tell him to leave, J1 said. Please. For a moment, she just looked at him, searching for something. Then she pulled away, grabbed her phone, and typed out a quick message. Through the window, they watched the black sedan pull away from the curb. I just canceled a car service, missed my flight, and probably destroyed my professional reputation, Amora said quietly, setting her phone down. This better be worth it. It will be. He reached for her again, but she stepped back. No, not yet. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly looking vulnerable despite the armor of that devastating dress. You don't get to just pull me close and make everything okay with a kiss. We've been bleeding for a month, J1. That doesn't heal in 5 minutes. He forced himself to stay still, to give her the space she was asking for even though every instinct screamed to close the distance between them. What do you need? I need you to mean it. Her voice was barely above a whisper. When you say you'll let me in, when you promise things will change, I need to know you actually mean it. That this isn't just about jealousy over Daniel or panic because I was leaving. That you actually want me as your partner, not just as the woman who warms your bed. I've never thought of you as just. Haven't you? She cut him off. Be honest. How much of your actual life do you share with me? How many of your problems do you bring home? How often do you include me in decisions that affect both of us? J1 opened his mouth, then closed it. Because she was right. He kept his work separate, his problems private, his decisions unilateral. Told himself it was protection when really it was control. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. I've spent my entire adult life keeping people at arm's length, trusting no one completely, building walls to stay safe. I'm not asking you to trust everyone. I'm asking you to trust me. I do trust you. Then prove it. She took a shaky breath. Tell me something real. Something you've never told anyone. Something that scares you to share. His jaw clenched. This was exactly what he'd been avoiding. The vulnerability, the exposure, the risk of letting someone see the parts of him he kept locked away. But she was right. If he wanted her to stay, if he wanted to fix what he'd broken, he had to give her something real. I'm terrified you'll wake up one day and realize you settled. The words came out rough, forced past years of pride. That you could have had someone clean. Someone who builds things instead of burning them down. Someone whose hands aren't stained with. Stop. Amara closed the distance between them, her hand covering his mouth. Stop comparing yourself to some imaginary perfect man. I didn't want perfect. I wanted you. He pulled her hand away but held on to it. Wanted. Past tense. Want, she corrected, her eyes holding his. Present tense. Even when you're being an idiot. Even when you're pushing me away. Even when you make me so angry I could scream. Her free hand came up to his face, fingers tracing the line of his jaw. I want you, J1. All of you. The good, the bad, the parts you think are too dark for me to handle. What if I can't change? The question he'd been too afraid to ask. What if I try to let you in and I just can't? Then we figure it out together. Her thumb brushed across his bottom lip. But you have to actually try. No more running to the guest room. No more shutting down when things get hard. No more making decisions about our marriage without me. And if I mess up, then you mess up and we deal with it. But you don't get to mess up by disappearing on me again, she continued. That's not an option anymore. If you're scared, you tell me. If you're angry, you tell me. If you think I can't handle something, you tell me anyway and let me decide for myself. J1 nodded slowly, his throat tight. Okay. Okay. She searched his face. Just like that. Just like that. He pulled her closer, his hands settling on her waist where the burgundy fabric gave way to bare skin. The contact, skin on skin after weeks of careful distance, sent electricity through both of them. I'm done running. Done hiding. Done pretending I can do this alone. You were never alone. Her hands slid up his chest, over his shoulders, linking behind his neck. I've been right here the whole time, waiting for you to let me in. I know. He rested his forehead against hers. I'm sorry. For all of it. For shutting you out. For the silent treatment. For making you feel like you had to choose between suffocating and leaving. I'm sorry too. Her breath ghosted across his lips. For not being clearer about what I needed. For letting it build up until I was venting to Sarah instead of talking to you. We're both disasters at communication. Clearly. A small smile tugged at her lips, the first genuine one he'd seen in weeks. Good thing we have the rest of our lives to get better at it. The rest of our lives. Not a given anymore, not after a month of silence and almost losing each other, but a promise they were both choosing to make again. That dress, J1 said, his hands splaying across her bare back, fingers tracing the elegant curve of her spine. Were you really planning to wear this around Daniel for a week? Jealous. There was teasing in her voice now, lightness that had been absent for too long. Absolutely. He didn't bother denying it. The thought of him seeing you like this, getting to make you laugh, having you in the same city while I was here going insane. Good. She pressed closer, eliminating what little space remained between them. You should be jealous. You should feel what I've been feeling every time you shut me out. Every time you chose distance over dealing with us. Point taken. His fingers traced patterns on her skin, relearning territory he'd denied himself for weeks. But you're not going to Seoul. No, she agreed. I'm not. I'm staying right here. With my husband. Who's going to spend the rest of the night proving he meant every word he just said. The rest of the night might not be enough. His voice dropped, rougher now as 1 month of pent-up need began clawing its way to the surface. Might need the rest of the week. Maybe longer. I'm not complaining. She rose on her toes, her lips brushing his jaw. But you should know, this dress was expensive. I'd hate to see anything happen to it. I'll buy you 10 more. His control was fracturing, 1 month of forced distance combusting in the heat building between them. 100 more. I don't care. That's very generous. But, whatever she was about to say dissolved into a gasp as he lifted her suddenly, her legs wrapping around his waist on instinct. No more talking, he said against her neck, already moving toward the staircase. We've done enough talking. J1. His name came out breathless as he took the stairs 2 at a time, carrying her like she weighed nothing. What about my suitcase? It can stay in the foyer. He shouldered through their bedroom door, their actual bedroom, not the prison of the guest room. You won't be needing it. Won't I? She was smiling now, really smiling, and the sight of it made his chest ache with how much he'd missed it. You're not going anywhere. He set her down beside their bed, his hands immediately finding the zipper hidden at her side. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Not until I've reminded you exactly why you chose me over Daniel and every other safe, boring option. I don't need reminding. The words cut off as he drew the zipper down slowly, deliberately, the burgundy dress beginning its descent. Too bad. His lips found the curve of her shoulder. You're getting it anyway. The dress pulled at her feet, and J1 took a moment just to look at her. His wife, still here, still his despite a month of trying to push her away. I love you, he said, the words rough but honest. I never stopped, even when I was being an idiot, even when I was sleeping down the hall. You're it for me, Amora, the only thing that matters. Tears welled in her eyes again, but these were different. Not pain or frustration, but something softer. I love you too. Even when you're impossible. Even when you make me want to strangle you. We're going to fight again, he warned, pulling her close. I'm going to mess up. You're going to get frustrated with me. I know. Her hands found his shirt buttons, working them open with deliberate care. But we're going to fight together. No more running away. No more silent treatment. We deal with it. We deal with it, he agreed. And then there were no more words, just 1 month of longing and fear and desperate need finally finding release. Just 2 people who'd almost lost each other choosing to fight for what they had instead of letting pride destroy it. Hours later, tangled in sheets with dawn beginning to paint the sky, Amara traced lazy patterns on his chest. We should probably call my office. Let them know I'm not coming to Seoul. Already done. He kissed her hair. Sent an email from your phone while you were asleep. Family emergency. You'll present remotely next month. She propped herself up on one elbow, eyebrow raised. You went through my phone. You gave me the password 2 years ago. Still. But she was smiling. This is exactly the kind of high-handed decision-making we just agreed you'd stop doing. You're right. He pulled her back down against him. I'm sorry. Want me to unsend it? No. She settled against his chest with a contented sigh. This time, I'll allow it. But next time. Next time I ask first, he promised. I'm learning. Slowly. Very slowly, he admitted. But I'm trying. That's all I need. She tilted her head up to kiss him. Just keep trying. Keep letting me in. Keep choosing us. Every day, he said. For the rest of our lives. And this time, he meant it.